The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Chapter 1, Part 7. As they sang, the Hobbit felt the love of beautiful things made by hands and by cunning and by the magic moving through him. A fierce and jealous love, the desire of the heart of dwarfs. Then something Tookish woke up inside him, and he wished to go and see great mountains, and hear pine trees and waterfalls, and explore the caves and wear a sword instead of walking stick. He looked out of the window. The stars were out in the dark sky above the trees. He thought of the jewels of the dwarfs shining in the dark caverns. Suddenly, in the wood beyond the water, a flame leapt up, probably somebody lighting a wood fire, and he thought of plundering dragons setting on his quiet hill and kindling it all to flames. He shuddered, and very quickly he was plain Mr. Baggins of Bag End, Underhill again. He got up trembling. He had less than half a mind to fetch up the lamp, and more than half a mind to pretend to, and go and hide behind the beer barrels in the cellar, and not come out again until all the dwarfs had gone away. Suddenly he found that the music and the singing had stopped, and they were all looking at him with eyes shining in the dark. "Where are you going?" said Thorin, in the tone that seemed to show that he guessed both halves of Hobbit's mind. "What about a little light?" said Bilbo apologetically. "We like the dark," said the dwarfs. "Dark for the dark business. There are many hours before dawn." "Of course," said Bilbo and sat down in a hurry. He missed the stool and sat in the fender, knocking over the poker shovel with a crash. "Hush," said Gandalf. "Let Thorin speak." And this is how Thorin began. Gandalf, dwarfs, and Mr. Baggins. We are met together in the house of our friend and fellow conspirator, this most excellent and audacious hobbit. May the hair on his toes never fall out. All praise to his wine and ale. He paused for a breath and for a polite remark from Hobbit, but the compliments were quite lost on poor Bilbo Baggins, who was wagging his mouth in protest at being called audacious and worst of all, fellow conspirator. Though no noise came out, he was flummoxed. So Thorin went on. "We are met to discuss our plans, our ways, means, policy, and devices. We shall soon, before the break of the day, start on our long journey, a journey from which some of us, or perhaps all of us, except our friend and counselor, the ingenious wizard Gandalf, may never return. It is a Solomon movement. Our object is, I take it, well known to us all. To estimable Mr. Baggins, and perhaps to one or two of the younger dwarfs, I think I should be right in naming Killy and Philly, for instance. The exact situation at the moment may require a little brief explanation. This was Thorin's style. He was an important dwarf. If he had been allowed, he would probably have gone on like this until he was out of breath, without telling anyone there is anything that was not known already. But he was rudely interrupted. Poor Bilbo couldn't bear it any longer. At may never return, he began to feel a shriek coming up inside, and very soon it burst out like a whistle of an engine coming out of tunnel. All the dwarfs sprang up, knocking over the table. Gandalf struck a blue light on the end of his magic staff, and in its firework glare, the poor little hobbit could be seen kneeling on the hearthrug, shaking like a jelly that was melting. Then he fell flat on floor and kept on calling out, struck by lightning, over and over again, and that was all they could get out of him for a long time. So they took him and laid him out of the way on the drawing room sofa with a drink at his elbow, and they went back to their dark business. Excitable little fellow, said Gandalf as they sat down again. Gets funny, queer fits, but he's one of the best, as fierce as a dragon in a pinch. If you have ever seen a dragon in a pinch, you will realize that this was only poetical exaggeration applied to any hobbit, even to old Took's great granduncle, Bull Roarer, who was so huge for a hobbit that he could ride a horse. He charged the ranks of goblins of Mount Graham in the Battle of Greenfield and knocked their king Golfimble's head clean off with a wooden club. It sailed 100 yards through the air and went down a rabbit hole. And in this way, the battle was won and a game of golf invented at the same moment. In meanwhile, however, Bull Roarer's gentler descendant was reviving in the drawing room. After a while and a drink, he crept nervously to the door of the parlor. This is what he heard, glowing speaking. Huh, or some snort more or less like that. Will he do you think? It is all very well for Gandalf to talk about this hobbit being fierce, but one shriek like that in a moment of excitement would be enough to wake Dragon and all his relatives and kill a lot of us. I think it sounded more like fright than excitement. In fact, it had not been for the sign on the door, I should have been sure we had come to wrong house. As soon as I clapped eyes on this little fellow bobbling and puffing on the mat, I had my doubts. He looks more like a grocer than a burglar. Then Mr. Baggins turned the handle and went in. The Took's side had won. He suddenly felt he would go without bed and breakfast to be thought fierce. As for little fellow bobbing on the mat, it almost made him really fierce. Many a time afterwards, Baggins part regretted what he did now, and he said to himself, Bilbo, you were a fool. You walked right in and put your foot in it. Pardon me, he said. If I have overheard words that you were saying, I don't pretend to understand what you are talking about or your reference to burglars, but I think I am right in believing this is what he called Biggins on his dignity. That you think I am no good. I will show you I have no signs on my door. It was painted a week ago, and I am quite sure you have come to wrong house. As soon as I saw your funny faces on the doorstep, I had my doubts, but treat it as a right one. Tell me what you want done, and I will try it. If I have to walk from here to the east and fight the wild werewolves in the last desert. I had a great granduncle once, Bull Roarer took, and yes, but that was long ago, said glowing. I was talking about you, and I assure you there is a mark on this door, the usual one in the trade, or used to be. Burglar wants a good job, plenty of excitement, and reasonable reward. That's how it is usually read. You can say expert treasure hunter instead of burglar if you like. Some of them do. It is all the same to us. Gandalf told us that there was a man of this sort in these parts looking for a job at once, and that he had arranged for a meeting here this Wednesday tea time. Of course there is a mark, said Gandalf. I put it there myself, for very good reasons. You asked me to find 14th man for your expedition, and I chose Mr. Baggins. Just let anyone say I chose the wrong man or the wrong house, and you can stop at 13 and all the bad luck you like and go back to digging coal. He scowled so angrily at Glowing that the dwarf huddled back in the chair, and when Bilbo tried to open his mouth to ask a question, he turned and frowned at him and stuck out his bushy eyebrows, till Bilbo shut his mouth tight with a snap. That's right, said Gandalf. Let's have no more argument. I have chosen Mr. Baggins, and that ought to be enough for all of you. If I say he's a burglar he is, or will be when the time comes. There is a lot more in him than you guess, and a deal more than he has any idea of himself. You may possibly all live to thank me yet. Now, Bilbo, my boy, fetch the lamp and let's have a little light on this.